Yes, sir.
Let's freaking go. Thanks, man. I
Let's do it.
appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for coming on.
For sure.
Yeah, we both got really busy schedules, so
Yeah, I think it's really cool you took the time to be able to do this with me. I know, you got a lot of good stuff on your podcast, so appreciate just having me.
yeah, dude. You were actually the inspiration to the podcast. Seriously.
No way.
There was one night at AJ's house where we were sitting there at the table outside in his patio, or it was in the hot tub, one of the two. And you're like, yeah, we got to start making content. We got to do this, and that podcast. And then I was like, I could do that. Like come out every Tuesday or every Monday. And then, and I was like, yeah, it'll hold me accountable to growing, all this other stuff. So you were the last straw in making the podcast. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, man, for sure. Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, you're the one that took the action and all that stuff. So, I appreciate you for taking action, because I think that's where a lot of people kind of hold themselves back, is that everybody can have a really great idea, but, it doesn't really matter whose idea is good unless they take action on it. So, I appreciate you just being the very few that actually take action. So it's cool to see what you've been doing too. It's been really consistent, really good stuff. So appreciate you just adding value to the world, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Why don't you tell everyone what you're leading right now? Where are you at? Brief overview of what you do in the organization you lead currently.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been with our company, Southwestern, for 9 years, and I lead an organization of roughly about 12 returning managers and roughly about 12 first-year student leaders, or first-year salespeople. And so last summer, our business did, just like a little bit under, X amount of dollars. I guess I can't say that, unless we put in the disclosure. But
yeah,
I did a little bit under $1 million in revenue. And so that's kind of the point that our business is at. And of course, the goal is to just impact as many young people as possible. My favorite part about what we do is just working with 18 and 22-year-olds, just because it's just the most malleable time in their lives. That's when people decide who they're going to be and their principles and the foundation for their lives, basically for the rest of their life. So that's why I love what we do. It's just the highest impact job in the world. And these people end up going on to become world changers. So
yeah, I can feel the impact. Every time you speak on stage or just having this conversation now, I can whenever you talk, it's you can feel the impact coming out of you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I mean, you also kind of know too, I really also like to kind of mess around with the boys and just kind of talk a bunch of shit and all that stuff. So as you know from the other night, sometimes because being the youngest of 9 kids, sometimes I can't take the shit talk. But, I try to as much as possible. So
yeah.
So I appreciate you saying that too.
Yeah.
And same thing with you, Jake. It's cool seeing the amount of growth that you've, developed in yourself over the last 4 or 5 years. You've been really intentional about it, and it's cool seeing you run your marathon literally right before getting here, before the busiest weekend of our entire company. You ran a marathon, and you did all the training leading up to that. You did all those mornings where you probably didn't want to freaking put on those shoes, and all those evenings when you knew you had to get your run in, all those silent moments. The credit goes to the man in the arena. So appreciate you for being in the arena.
Don't butter me up too much, Martine.
Yeah, man. I mean, your viewers got to know that you're a freaking badass and that you're worth listening to. So,
well, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for those of you that want to run a marathon, do the training. Do the freaking training, because the training is the biggest part of it.
Don't just show up. No training.
Don't just show up. You'll be able to do it maybe if you're really in good shape, but
sure.
It's not the point. The point is to do well. It's not just to do it,
Yeah.
So actually doing the training is going to force you to actually want to do well. And then the last 4 miles, are going to suck really badly, but you get through it.
For sure.
But I want to ask you, I always like asking people this question. When was the first time you saw yourself as a leader in your life?
Really good question, because I think a lot of times, I talked about this on the Life Pros podcast, but a lot of times people think that being a leader is someone that appoints you that position. You're a leader if the coach made you a captain on the team, or you're a leader if you got, the manager position at, the retail store that you work for, or whatever it might be. But I think like Southwestern really taught me that leadership is assumed, it's not assigned. So I think really that was when it clicked for me, was the moment that I heard that. I think that I had natural leader tendencies. Like I was captain of like my lacrosse team, and I had natural leader tendencies, but it really clicked for me that leadership is assumed when I joined Southwestern. Because although like on paper, just to be vulnerable with you, on paper I looked great in high school, like full ride scholarship, certified medical assistant by the time I graduated high school, tons of friends, like all that kind of stuff. But I wasn't a leader by example to my friends. Like I'd be a leader in the moments I needed to be, like on the field, but off the field, I wasn't the greatest example to my friends back then. And I'd be the guy that would, instigate like parties and instigate doing drugs and all that kind of stuff back when I was, in high school. And so Southwestern just really helped me kind of have a course correct and understanding that like leadership is in every aspect of your life. Leadership is in the decisions you make when no one's watching. Leadership is, what you do when you wake up, and nobody else is around, and you said you're going to get up and go to the gym. Like that's leading yourself. And you can't lead other people if you don't lead yourself. And you know this really well too. You're one of the best at it, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to leadership, I think there's kind of like different tiers. It's when you first learn about it and you realize all your failures and what you're actually not good at.
For sure.
And then it's the overcorrect of, oh, I have to perform at like, I feel like sometimes I find myself putting a lot of stress on myself. Like, this is what I should be doing. I have to be doing this. I have to be doing this. I have to live the cleanest life outside of how people view me, you know? But I think that's just, you have to have some fun and sometimes. Sure. Do you battle with that too sometimes?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, as you know, with me, like I sometimes swing the pendulum like a lot of like, I'm either having a ton of fun or I'm either like super locked in. So I think that was a battle that I had when I first started in my leadership journey, is that, a lot of times people would see almost like two different versions of me. And I think a really good way to combat that is really just covering that in advance, like telling your people, like, hey, by the way, you're going to see like, Martine with 3 different hats on. You're going to see Martine that's just like normal guy, likes to hang out, talks a bunch of shit, makes a bunch of stupid jokes. And then you'll see Martine, where in the middle of like the selling season, you're going to see him be really intense and really locked in, and like it's game time. So don't get surprised when you see two different versions of me. And like I'm kind of curious, why do you think I asked you that? And then they kind of just tell me like why I asked them that. And a lot of the times people get it, because it's true. Like it's kind of like if you're playing a sport, like you're not gonna talk to the people on your team the same way on the court than you are playing video games, like lounging on a weekend where you guys have the weekend off. Like it's just there are going to be 2 different versions of yourself.
Those Xbox chats.
Yeah. And it's more just, prepping the people that you're leading for that switch that they might experience, just so they're not caught off guard and they're like, yo, which version of him am I going to get,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a conundrum that a lot of leaders deal with, I think.
For sure. Yeah.
Till they've fully just grown out of it or moved on to something else.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's like either you figure it out in what you're doing now, or like you just will always battle with that issue for like the rest of your career. So I think it's really cool what we get to do in Southwestern with young people is like, we get to help them work through these, things that they didn't even know they needed to work on. Like I didn't know that I needed to work on that. Like I thought I would just pick it up pretty naturally, but proven like by experience, like it's like I didn't pick it up pretty naturally. And it took a long time for things to start clicking, and it's a journey every day, still trying to find out how like to make it click, and it's just gonna be a lifelong journey, but It's either you figure it out on what you're doing now, or you're just going to have the same problem the rest of your career. I truly believe that.
Yeah, I agree. Those are great points, especially asking that question of what do you think I mean by that when you ask them, or when you're talking to someone and saying, hey, you might see two different styles of how I'm acting right now. So
yeah, for sure. And they respect that. They really respect that, because they're like, man, that's really authentic. That's really real that you just said that, you know? And then, of course, like over time too, it's like figuring out how to be authentic. You know, I think that was something that I needed to figure out a lot at first, was just like, there's a Martine when he's with old people, and then there's a Martine when he's with young people. And it's just figuring out just how to be authentic in every moment. And at the end of the day, it's really just being worried about what people think about you. Like the only way you'd act different in front of other people is because you're scared about what they would think about you if you showed them your true self. But really, when you're thinking about it, you're just thinking about yourself. You're not thinking about the person in front of you, the person that you're leading, and how you can help that person. And really how you can help that person is like not thinking about yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like, like I said, it's a lifelong journey. Like I get worried about what people think about me still all the time. Like, even though I'm saying this right now, it's a lifelong journey. You know?
Oh yeah. Like what we just had, trying to figure out the camera stuff.
Yeah. We look like we got a pretty good situation though. So I'm digging it.
Yeah. we figured it out, you know, put two great minds together. You can figure out some cameras.
Yep. Problem solve this makeshift studio too. So
yep.
I'm digging it.
Speaking of cameras, so you've been making a ton of content. I've been seeing it, like reels on Instagram. I think you're on TikTok. I personally have not downloaded TikTok, so I haven't seen it.
Yep.
Are you on like X at all, or Twitter, or are you you're on LinkedIn? I see that.
Yep.
What's like your main goal? What's your main mission with that? Because you're creating a lot of like success principle content, as we got all these books back here.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like my goal isn't related to a result. You know, whatever the result comes of the value that I put out to the universe, like that's the goal. Is I just want to put as much value out to the universe as possible. And in the 7 spiritual laws of success by Deepak Chopra, he says that money is just the universe paying you in the value that you give to the universe. So the money's going to come, the results are going to come, the followers are going to come. I don't know when, but I am committed to the work it's going to take. So for me right now, at my capacity of like still figuring it out, the work that it's going to take is posting 2 reels a week. So I post on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook. I don't really post anything on X. So I think, you know, that's of course an area of growth, but you know, if you do the math, that's like 4 pieces of content on Tuesday and then 4 pieces of content on Thursday. It's like 8 pieces of content across like, you know, those 4 different platforms. And I'm just committed to doing the work for the next 10 years. So, and then whatever result comes from it will come from it. But the goal is really just to add as much value to the world and the universe as I can.
The mission statement.
Yeah, right. And like helping people build skills and character.
Yeah.
And I do believe that God put us on this earth to like help others. And the vehicle that we have with Southwestern is amazing, but also the vehicle that we have with social media, you know, just the pure reach of it, like we can help so many people. And at the end of the day, like that's the goal. And whatever result comes from it, whatever money comes from it or whatever, like it'll come when it comes. But, you know, at this point, it's just, you know, just putting it out and just trying to be consistent too.
So would you say you're a content producing leader or a leader producing content?
Yeah, good question, actually. I guess my main job is a leader. So, you know, it's just a leader that uses like the vehicle of producing content.
Okay. Yeah, because I thought about that too. I can just go into content producing or just leadership, or kind of combine the both. And what does that even look like?
For sure.
Like for you, I mean, it's got to take a lot of your time.
It actually doesn't, like, at all. Like, it takes like an hour, like a week.
Really?
Yeah, like it's on, on Monday evening, I have it blocked out in my schedule from 7 to 8 p.m. to just record 5 videos. And then I send it to my editor and I pay them like, $15 a video. And basically, yeah, and then it gets done in like 3 or 4 days. So shouts out to Fiverr. But Alex Hormozy talks about it all the time. PBD talks about it all the time, of just like the value of your time, and like where I make the most money is when I'm selling or recruiting. So of course I'm not gonna, like, the skill of like learning how to edit a video and all that kind of stuff. Like I don't need to do that if I can pay someone else to do that. And if I can pay someone else like $15, to do something that would take me like 2 or 3 hours, like the math is like, I make $100+ like an hour or whatever, like 15, like doing something where I can pay someone $15 an hour, it makes more sense to pay someone else. So I think they say, I think I heard PBD say it as like paying, not using your time to get paid, but paying to get your time.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Trying to get more time back rather than money.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably how you scale a lot quicker too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you use to block your time off? Do you use like a calendar? So I'm pretty sure a couple episodes I talked about how to create a schedule.
Yeah.
So do you have any tips, tricks on someone that just is, is aware of a schedule? Like they know that they need to make a schedule, but I know you're so deep into it that you're probably like, I know what I'm doing 3 weeks from now on this time. But so, yeah, I guess what would you give someone advice on how to create a schedule or what to use and what to do?
Yeah. I think my first advice would be to go back and watch your episode on it, because your episode covers it really in depth. So that'd be like my first advice. But, for me, I just, it's just making one, just starting out and just making one, like taking time on Sunday to like sit down for it. It literally takes like probably about 30 minutes or an hour to like sit down and just like plan out where you're going to be at like your whole week. What time you're going to wake up, what you're going to be doing like all day from like the moment you get up to the end of the day. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that you need to just be only working all day long. Like, I think it's healthy to plan out your free time, because then if you have like all your work done and then it's 7 p.m. on Friday or whatever, like 5 p.m. Friday, and you have scheduled in free time from 5 to 10, or hanging out with a girlfriend or hanging out with friends 5 to 10, like you're not going to feel guilty about it because it's in your schedule. And if you did everything else in your schedule leading up to it, it's just part of the schedule, So I think that is where people get a little bit confused with making a schedule, is they think it's just like, oh, man, it's hard for me to follow a schedule because I just feel like I have to be productive all the time. And like, then I just don't end up doing it. And then I just forget to make a schedule, But really the answer to that is like schedule in your free time then, and it's a learning process. Like you're not going to be a master of it the first time you make it, but it just makes sense to make one, because it's either you're letting your schedule run you or you're running your schedule. So what do you pick? So
yeah, scheduling in your free time. It's a tough thing to do at first when you're making a schedule.
For sure. I mean,
I'll tell you that much.
If you're like me and you, like we obviously don't like to have a lot of free time. Like for me, I kind of prefer to work like 9 a.m. till 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m. Like that's my natural instinct, is to just work all day, And so, but then of course with like Chloe, my girlfriend, and with my relationships and my friends, like that's not the most beneficial to my relationships to work like all day. So I do have to be intentional about scheduling free time, and also scheduling time to work on different parts of your brain. So, I mean, I love what we do. I love talking to people all day, but of course I need to schedule in things that like have like that work the other side of my brain. So recording content or producing music, it works the other side of my brain so that I'm fresh when I go back to my actual activities that I usually do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Sharpening yourself in different areas.
For sure. And those are just the things for me. I love music. I've always loved music. So I love producing music, and I'm doing a bunch of production courses. So I'll usually work until about 8 p.m. and then I just can't help it but to like put my headphones on from like 8 to 9 or 8 to 10 p.m. and just like make, work on the song I'm making right now. So, and that just makes me feel good. It makes me feel balanced at the end of the day. And then sometimes I just like to like sit down and watch a freaking TV show, with Chloe. Like it's like make a nice dinner and meal prep and then have a nice show on and just sit and chill for like a couple hours and, get to bed early and all that stuff. And I'm getting old now.
I think there's a lot of people that may listen to this podcast would laugh at that because you're not that old.
Yeah.
So tell me about this music business. So you're making a song now. Is this the first song you made?
So this is probably like my 10th song that I've made. Wow. But I have on my vision board to produce for 2 hours a week minimum and make a song once every 2 weeks. And so far I've been sticking to that. And produce like 2 hours a week is just a minimum, but I love it so much that like I probably end up doing it more like 4 or 5 hours a week. I'll snowboard all day on Saturday, and then after snowboarding I just can't help but just either just put on the headphones and just make some music or whatever. So I don't really have a goal with that. Like I said, I'm just committed to like just putting in the work to do it because it's just something I love. I love music so much. I love my whole life. Like if people watch this from like my childhood, like my whole life, like I've always loved to be on the aux and I've always loved to just record or like play music. And so it just like there's just something that happens in me when I just hear like a song that I really love. So I want to like make music like that, and sure, whatever, like if it ends up being something that makes me money down the road, cool. But if not, it's just something that I love doing. It's like a creative release.
Yeah, it's a great way to put it, a creative release.
For sure.
So what do you consider like, because it sounds like you got a lot going on in your week because you got meetings with people because you're, and then you got content creation and then you got more content creation with making music. What do you consider like a successful week? Like if you were to go to bed on Sunday, knowing that you did these things or Saturday night or whatever it is, what would you consider that a successful week if you did that?
I'd say touch points with all my people. 10 people infoed, so 10 people that are in the pipeline to hear about Southwestern. 2 hours minimum of music production and 5 videos submitted to my editor, and post on Tuesdays, post on Thursdays, and gym 4 times. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday gym, and yeah, that's about it.
Dang right.
And of course eating good. So I love meal prepping. I love Instagram, like recipes and all that stuff. So me and Chloe love trying new recipes, and we'll usually meal prep all day, or not all day. It usually takes like 2 hours on like Saturday or Sunday. And sometimes, depending on the meal, we'll make enough for the whole week. But a lot of times the meal will last till like, meal preps last till Wednesday or Thursday, and then we'll just make another round for like the second half of the week. So,
yeah. Sometimes it's easy to just order a pizza.
For sure. Yeah. Sometimes it is like that's no matter what for me, because I don't like to eat out all the time. Like it's just but I do have like a max that me and Chloe can, or I at least can take Chloe out once a week. So because it's nice to just have some variety. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
B-dubs every Thursday.
Yeah.
Something like that.
They got the buy one get one.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly right.
B-dubs
every Thursday.
Sponsor Jake Paulson's podcast.
They actually already sponsor.
Oh,
that
nice.
Yeah. I'm supposed to say that this is a paid sponsor.
We should probably put the disclosure in there too.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you some things about leadership more in depth because, I think you've been through some trial. I think everyone's been through some ups and downs in their journey along the way. And I mean, obviously it's a huge part of your life because it's your main source of income.
Yeah.
So what are some things that you've done in the past, some failures that might help, someone listening to this that might be going through something right now where they're like, gosh, I can't get my sales team to produce, or I'm not really an attractor. Like they might be dealing with some self-doubt or something like that. What advice would you give, and maybe a place that you've been in your life?
Yeah, I think the common denominator of success phrases it really well. If you haven't read that article, audience, I know Jake has, but definitely read that article. It's really cool. It's a speech given by this guy, I forgot his name, but he gives a speech to like this group of insurance salespeople, and it's timeless. Like people still refer to it all the time today, but in the common denominator of success, it says that successful people form the habit of doing the things that unsuccessful people don't like to do. And by forming the habit of doing the things that unsuccessful people don't like to do, and by compounding that every single day for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, one day you're just going to look up and you're not even going to recognize the world that's around you and the person that you became. So I'd say that's like the first place to start, is just like compound your habits. James Clear, like habit stack, and just get on a schedule, and start working towards the thing that you love, or else like the world will make you work for it. So as simple as that. And then one day you're going to look up 3, 4, 5, 6 years later, and the world around you is going to be totally different. And you're going to wake up in the middle of like your dream. Mm-hmm. And I think it's funny to realize that, because a lot of times we're always so hard on ourselves as leaders and just always trying to like get better at what we do and get better at like leading people and helping people. But also I think it's important to look back on the victories and look back on the things that we have accomplished, and remember that like, hey, like 5 years ago, like you were dreaming about where you are right now. So it's counting the victories as much as it is, trying to get the next thing, because the victories give you confidence in order to keep going to the next thing, keep pushing through the challenges. Is just remembering like, man, I actually have done a lot and I've helped a lot of people. And when you remember those things, it's funny because this is an activity that I'm doing with my team right now, but we not only create vision boards, but we also create victory boards. Where on the vision board, you write out a list of your like your top 10 characteristics of the kind of man that you want to be, the top 10 characteristics of the person, the things you want to do, and the top 10 things that you want to have. So the victory board is more like a been, done, had. So you have a top 10 list of the things that person you've been, the top 10 list of the things that you've done, and the top 10 list of things that you've had. And then it's creating a, quote unquote victory board, like a visual victory board of that, so that you can look at it and be like, man, yeah, I did graduate college, or man, yeah, I did help that family, or yeah, I have traveled to that many states or that many countries. I do have an amazing relationship. I am kind, I'm patient. So that, but also creating like an affirmations list too, and constantly updating your affirmations. A great mentor of mine, Yvette Keister, she's actually my coach. And she told me that affirmations they're kind of like milk in the fridge. Over time, like it's going to expire and it's going to be a little bit sour and it's not going to hit the same. So that's why you got to get new milk or new affirmations and write, new affirmations. So affirmations that help me are usually derived from things that I have that are negative beliefs about myself. So if a common thought I've been having recently is like, for example, a common thought I've had recently is, man, like sometimes I can be kind of a dick. Or man, sometimes I'm like kind of like short with people. Or man, sometimes I'm, I wish I wasn't so, like quick to frustration. And then you turn those into like a positive affirmation of like, I'm kind, I'm patient. When I start to feel myself boil, I pause and I take a deep breath and realize that the person in front of me, like they're good inside. They're good inside. He's good inside. She's good inside. and just that's what re-engineering a negative belief into an affirmation is, and it's constantly re-engineering your negative beliefs into a positive affirmation. And you're not going to believe the affirmations you say when you first say them. You probably won't believe them the first 10 to 20 to 30 times you say them. But over time, after saying all those affirmations for so long, you're going to look back and you're going to be like, wow, I actually can't even believe that I thought that I was, a dick, or I can't even believe that back then I used to get so frustrated so quick. Eventually, you're going to look up one day and you're not going to believe the world that you see around you.
Yeah, I just made a list of those.
Yeah.
And it's hard to sit there and believe it. You're like,
for sure.
I'm just trying to believe that I'm this person that I created on this document here.
Yeah. I think that's just, it is. It really is. And I think that's the power in like having them printed out and just having a visual, having the victory board just up in the room, having the vision board up in the room, and having I have my affirmations printed out up on my desk, and then also up on my wall, and it's printed out at FedEx. I'll get them laminated and all that stuff, so it's really nice. And it's just something about just having it in front of you all the time. It's just hard to avoid because it's just right there, and your subconscious just sees it all the time, and so your subconscious is going to get excited to get closer to that.
It's almost like you're selling yourself over and over and over.
Yep.
Like, I'm decent at sales. I'm not anything special in terms of greatness of sales.
You're definitely pretty special at. You're pretty good at what you do. So.
Pretty good. Okay. Yeah. We'll say pretty good. But it's like, in order for me to get excited about something, actually believe in it, I have to just constantly sell myself on it.
For sure.
Over and over and over again. If I really don't want to go do something, say it's, flagging someone down to have them fill out a survey. There's people that do that all the time.
Yeah.
And it's uncomfortable. It's like the person in front of Walmart that has they're asking for donations, you know? Wearing, I think it's Santa usually, but that's uncomfortable.
Sure.
To do that is uncomfortable. No one wants to stand out in the cold and do that.
Yep.
But they sold themselves on why they should just go do it.
For sure. That's the first sale you got to make, is to yourself.
And I feel like there's a lot of good salespeople out there that just haven't sold themselves yet.
For sure.
And I'm working on it.
Some of the most successful people are to the point of slightly delusional. And I saw that quote the other day too. And it makes sense. You have to be slightly delusional to achieve something that other people have never achieved. By definition, to believe something that other people have never believed they could do, by definition, that is delusional. By definition, that is quote unquote crazy. So you kind of have to be a little bit on the healthy side delusional.
Yeah.
And on the healthy side of just sell, just like you said, selling yourself on I can do this.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just watching a clip from Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
Which right now, so he was a good fighter.
Yeah.
But right now he might be a little too gone.
He had his time,
Yeah. I don't know what he's doing. I just heard things. Who knows what's true and
he's
what's
killing
not.
it in business right now, for sure. Being, the movie he was in.
Yeah, he's in a movie.
Yeah, and his he has a bar. He also has I think a whiskey or something like that.
Proper 12.
Yeah, he's killing it in business right now, for sure. That dude makes a crap ton of money.
Oh yeah, he's a promoter. But he had this quote. It was back in 2013, and I play it all the time for myself because it fires me up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna misquote it, but essentially what he was saying is, he said, I've given my all to this game. I've given literally everything I have. And he's talking about UFC fighting.
Yeah.
He's sitting there on the mat, sweaty, just got done with a workout, probably just got beat up,
Yeah.
But he's I've given it all. And then he talked about Pablo Picasso. He's the one with one ear.
Yep.
And he said, just like Pablo Picasso said when he talked about art, he literally gave everything to his art and got lost in the process.
Mm.
He was I'm gone. I'm lost in the process. And then he said, but it's going to be worth it when my mom has her mansion.
Yeah.
My girlfriend's got a car for every day of the week. And my kids' have everything that they want.
Yeah.
Then it'll be worth it. And I watched that quote because it's now, of course, you got music over it, so it's like a better effect. And
yeah,
I watched that quote and I'm like, that is what a purpose is, you know?
For sure.
That man found it. Maybe he got a little too lost, who knows? But he was good at what he did. And now literally everything he spoke, he sold it to himself back then. And it came true. And there was a reporter that was quoting it to him like 10 years later, or maybe a little bit less. But he started to get emotional when the reporter was saying it because he remembers saying it. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, literally, I did it, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
It's good stuff, man.
Yeah, I mean, finding a purpose, I think, is like the first thing. Like you were talking about the goal board or the victory board.
Yeah.
The Ben had, I already did it. Selling yourself on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's really a lot. I think one thing that people have to grasp.
Yeah.
If you want to, you don't have to grasp it, I guess.
For sure.
But I think there's only a few people that actually get to that point to grasp it.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons that I, like you said, took action to make the podcast was really so that I could hopefully bring some light to the subject of what is personal development, growing in yourself, growing to help your community and the people around you just, live life to the fullest.
Yep.
Make your impact, whatever that may be.
Mm-hmm. Boom. Mic drop.
Yeah. So one thing, actually, we talked about this yesterday. I wanted to save it so we could talk about it because I'm actually pretty curious about it. Credit cards.
Yeah.
You got some credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's some people that I know that very close to me that don't like credit cards.
Yeah.
Just because maybe they don't understand the concept of it, or maybe I don't fully.
Yeah.
But I have 2 of them, and I use them. I like them.
Right.
So what kind of credit cards you got? Do you get some flights with it? I don't know. Like, what'd you start out, and how has it gone?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I think it kind of depends on how you use it too. I definitely wouldn't say I'm like an expert on it. I know my friend Jacob Levine, like he knows a lot about credit cards. And I know for me, like I've had situations where I have kind of abused the credit card usage a little bit and where I had to kind of like tone it back a little bit too. So I'm definitely by no means an expert on this topic. But I would say like, some that I really like and some that I use every day are like the American Express Gold Card. I really like that one for, the 4 times points on restaurants and 4 times points on grocery stores. And then I use the American Express Platinum Card for travel because it's like 5 times on flights and 5 times on hotels. And I have access to 1,200 lounges like all over the world. So anytime I fly, I'm able to get a free meal at like the lounge and at every single airport that I have flown to so far. So that's a really big perk of that one. But of course, just rule of thumb is like don't spend it unless you have it. And if you don't have it, then don't use the credit card.
So some of them have limits. Like if you started out, because I didn't really understand it at first.
Right.
So I just went and got one. It was like a Saver One card. Right. Could get some cash back on some things.
For sure.
So you have a limit, right?
Yeah.
And you get the credit card in the mail. You got to apply for it.
Yeah.
But most of them are pretty easy to get as long as you have like a 600 or above or 550 or something.
Something like that, yeah. And
then how do you build on your credit?
Yeah, just keep making the payments, just make the payments on time and that's how your credit starts to build with it.
Okay. So you borrow the money from the credit card company.
Yep.
And then you pay it back. But is there interest when you pay it? Or is there only interest when it's late?
There's interest every month. So if you have a balance, there's interest, depending on the card. Some cards have no interest, But yeah, like most cards will have like, interest on them. So the interest accrues every month on the balance that you have on there. So that is also, a thing to kind of watch out for. And that's a big reason why I like to have all my cards like paid off like at the end of the month. I like to carry a little bit of a balance because also, credit card companies and, whoever runs like the credit score stuff, like FICO or whatever, they like to see that you have a little bit of debt that you owe. And yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I crossed over 800 a couple
Hey,
months ago.
Good stuff.
So, but I mean, that probably was from more than just the credit cards.
800 is crazy.
That was probably from other forms of, debt to pay off and all that stuff. So
yeah, so you need that good score because
For
you
sure.
have one Airbnb or you have more?
So I have one that's all mine, and then I have two that I'm part like owner in / Airbnb arbitrage.
Okay, so you went ahead and bought a house.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you got a mortgage right now.
Yep.
And the Airbnb helps pay it off.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And you needed a good credit score to get the house, right?
Exactly. Yep. Mm-hmm. To apply for a loan and all that stuff. Proof of income as well.
Proof of income?
Yep.
Okay, so you needed your documents.
Mm-hmm.
And did you buy the car outright, or did you have to do some payments on that too?
I mean, the car is paid off. I of course, got a loan and paid it off as soon as I could. So, yeah.
Dang right. So yeah, that factored in when I started learning about credit score, credit cards. I was like, I don't even know what I'm looking at here.
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh, you actually need a good credit score to do certain things.
For sure.
Insurance is another one.
Yep.
Your credit might be bad and insurance might go up, right?
I think so.
Something like that?
I think so, yeah.
Certain insurances?
Yeah. Depending on the insurance or something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, because I'm thinking about buying a house this year.
Yeah.
Maybe next year. But the goal is this year. I should put it on the victory board.
Yeah, for sure.
I already had it.
Mm-hmm.
Done it. But yeah, I need a good credit score. I'm not quite 800.
Yeah.
It's a little crazy.
It's all good. It takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything you wanted to that you wanted to talk about, get off your chest? Anything you wanted to spread? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think what you're doing is awesome, and the value that you're adding and the action that you're taking on your podcast is really cool. So, the only thing is I just say like and subscribe and share this as much as possible, and keep listening to Jake's stuff. He's got some really good stuff. So, yeah.
Well, real quick before we go, where are you at now? What are you consuming on a weekly basis to grow yourself? I know you talked about different things that you're doing for your other side of your brain.
Yeah.
But like these that we see behind us, all these books, what are you consuming right now that you're excited about? What are you learning?
Right now I'm reading The Ultimate Guide to Developing Leaders by John C. Maxwell. And I also just finished Leadership by John C. Maxwell. He's just a really great leadership author. I probably read 20 of his books, but other than that too, I'm also reading The Psychology of Money. And I'm also consuming podcasts from Lewis Howes, Jay Shetty, and then also consuming podcasts from Gary Vee on content creation. And then the music that I'm consuming is I'm listening to a lot of Leighton Jordiani. He creates some freaking tech house bangers, bro. I'm telling you. Act of God, it's on Spotify. Actually, it's not. It's actually on SoundCloud. It's unreleased, but the second drop is just so awesome. Yeah, so Leighton Jordiani, Dom Dalla, of course, of course you got your John Summits and stuff like that. I love what John Summit makes. I don't really like his crowds too much though.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it's big time. Yeah, oh my God, John Summit type of crowd, So, but of course he makes really good dark tech house music. I love that. And then also Tape B, in terms of the dubstep scene, he's definitely the forefront of the dubstep scene right now. He's a lot of artists are taking to his sound and putting out a lot of stuff like him now. And so I would say that's the majority of the content that I consume. And I like to kind of just rotate it. Some days it's just all music, and some days it's all podcasts, and some days it's all books, and it kind of depends on the day and kind of what I'm feeling that day. But yeah, self-education, bro, all about it.
Yeah, you heard it here. That was sounded like it might have been a loaded question with all the information that came out.
Yeah, I just know what I'm listening to.
Heck yeah, dude, that's awesome. Yeah. That's a lot.
Didn't really have time to think about it. I was just here's what I'm listening to.
Yeah, what was I reading this morning? A lot of John C. Maxwell. That's freaking cool.
Yeah.
Well, where can people find your stuff?
Yeah, man. They can find me at Martine Cao on Instagram, TikTok. They can find me Martine Cao on LinkedIn. They can find me Martine Cao on Facebook. So add me on all the platforms, whatever, share if you like it or don't like, maybe you might hate it. So who knows? So, but that's where you guys can find me.
At least comment.
Yeah. Make sure leave a comment if you want. You can engage, but also if you don't want to, that's fine.
For sure, dude.
I'll live without it.
Yeah, dude. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate you, man. You're a leader. You're a leader to me. And like I said, you're a big part of what made this possible. So I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right.
Boom.
Peace out, everybody.